I sit here in front of you guys, furious at myself, disgusted at myself for making a mistake, adultery.
That was just a surface confession. There were darker stories being spoken behind closed doors. It appears from hidden recordings that Kobe's interactions with women went well beyond infidelity. And now that one of those tapes has surfaced, fans' preconceived notions have been altered. Let's dissect it. When the mask of your idol slips. On June 30th, 2003, Kobe Bryant shows up at the Cordillera Lodge and Spa in Edwards, Colorado. He is 24 years old at the height of his abilities and has knee surgery the next day. When something occurs that will completely upend his lifestyle, the Lakers superstar is living his finest life at this bougie resort. Things get ugly now because of what happened that evening. While working her shift, a 19-year-old hotel employee ran upon the Black Mamba himself. What began as a routine exchange between employees and a VIP visitor deteriorated into something far more sinister, according to the court documents that were ultimately made public. This circumstance resulted in some rather crazy tea. Around 10:00 p.m., Kobe asked for a private tour of a hotel, according to the victim's claim. She claimed that he invited her to his room after engaging in intense flirtation during this trip. However, this is when things start to become somewhat alarming. She said that even though she repeatedly said no, he blocked her way out, kissed her against her will, grabbed her, choked her by the neck, leaned her over a chair, and attacked her. To be honest, the physical evidence was unsettling. In keeping with her account of being choked and beaten, the woman had bruising on her neck and vaginal injuries. The fact that Kobe's t-shirt from that evening had 3 spots of her blood on it, verified by DNA testing, was even more incriminating. And this wasn't period blood, before anyone attempts to explain it away. It was consistent with forced sexual contact, according to medical specialists. Kobe's story becomes incredibly suspenseful at this point. During his initial interrogation by the police, he repeatedly denied that anything sexual had occurred. A classic move. Wait till the receipts are released before denying anything. His entire account didn't change until detectives informed him that they had tangible proof, such as the blood on his clothing. He only acknowledged having intercourse after that, but he insisted it was voluntary. Following the first report, the chronology advanced quickly. The victim told the authorities what had transpired on July 1st, 2003, and Kobe had knee surgery the same day. The following day, they were both examined by doctors, who recorded all of the physical evidence. A warrant was issued by July 4th, which is literally Independence Day, and Kobe turned himself in to the police after posting a $25,000 bond, as if it were cash. The internet essentially crashed when the news emerged on July 6th. Even though this was before the Twitter explosion, sports blogs, forums, and early social media were completely going haywire. One of the NBA's golden boys, the man who sold shoes to children and appeared in clean advertisements, was now facing allegations that may result in his life in prison. Kobe was charged with criminal sexual assault on July 18, 2003. If found guilty, we might face decades in prison. There was an absurd contrast. The same man who was meant to be such a good example was now categorized with the worst offenders. However, Kobe's damage control press conference was the most embarrassing part of the event. Imagine this scene. There are cameras all over. Kobe is attempting to conduct PR while acknowledging that he strayed, and his wife Vanessa is sitting next to him, looking utterly upset.
I sit here in front of you guys, furious at myself, disgusted at myself for making a mistake, adultery.
Imagine sitting next to your husband while they openly confess to cheating on you with another lady. That was the height of uncomfortable content at that moment.
I sit here before you guys, embarrassed and ashamed for committing adultery.
The visuals were dreadfully bad. Vanessa was sitting there when her husband came clean about cheating on her. Most people would immediately seek counseling and a divorce attorney in response to that type of public humiliation. With preliminary hearings in October 2003 concluding that Kobe had to stand trial, the legal drama lasted for more than a year. There were additional sloppy details revealed during these court proceedings. The defense team began constructing their case by essentially attempting to undermine the victim's credibility, even though they were likely spending more than most people's homes. They tried to give the impression that the victim was lying about the entire situation by pointing out that DNA from another male was found in her underwear. The defense exploited her explanation of a laundry mix-up to cast her in an untrustworthy light. They also drew attention to what they saw as contradictions in her account, such as the falsehoods she made about having car problems. "Nah, this is classic victim-blaming behavior," said the prosecutors. They continued to cite Kobe's shifting tail, the blood on his shirt, and the medical data as indication that something unconsensual had unquestionably occurred. The summer of 2004 was when things became completely poisoned. In court, the victim began receiving death threats. Although her name was meant to remain secured, officials continued to release it. Her mother truly feared for her daughter's life because of how severe the harassment had become. It became so bad that several people, including an insane man who was jailed for a murder-for-hire scheme, were detained for threatening the victim. The victim filed a civil case in August 2004 to recover damages for all of the agony, distress, and humiliation she had experienced in public. The timing was calculated. Even if the criminal case fails, she may still be able to receive justice and compensation because civil courts operate under different rules than criminal courts. This was quickly jumped upon by critics who said, "See, she just wants money." However, proponents noted that the criminal justice system frequently fails survivors, particularly when they are up against extremely wealthy celebrities with limitless legal resources. Due to the victim's refusal to testify, charges were dismissed on September 1, 2004, ending the criminal case. She essentially declared, "I can't do this anymore," after months of abuse, death threats, and having her private affairs publicly displayed. More than $200,000 had already been spent by the prosecution to prepare the case. However, they were forced to dismiss it in the absence of the victim's testimony. Following the dismissal of the criminal charges, Kobe made one of the most widely discussed non-apology apologies in the history of stardom. He essentially stated that he understood her feelings differently, even if he believed everything was consensual. It was a type of well-crafted legal declaration that acknowledges error without formally acknowledging guilt. Famous PR tactics at their height. The civil case continued until March 2005, when it was resolved out of court. Although the facts of the settlement were not made public, legal experts calculated that it exceeded $2.5 million, which is essentially Colorado's damage cap for instances of this nature. Kobe was had to confess to cheating on his wife in public after the 2003 case. Years later, however, it became clear that this was a part of a much larger pattern, the serial cheater age. In order to comprehend the extent of this rabbit hole, we must go back to Kobe and Vanessa's early dating days. Kobe was 21 and Vanessa was technically still in high school at 17 when they first met in 1999. The power dynamic was dubious already. A young person is being courted by a rising NBA star. They became engaged while she was still a minor, and they were married in April 2001 without a prenuptial agreement, something that would later be crucial. There were warning signs in this relationship from the beginning. The wedding was actually boycotted by Kobe's parents since Vanessa's family didn't approve. They were thrown into the LA celebrity scene, which is essentially a playground for wealthy men looking to cheat with no repercussions.